Here you go. Crank this, crank that, and then a bit of this. Are you kidding me right now?
One of the greatest privileges of my job is getting to spend time with true living legends. We're in DC to visit someone I'm honoured to call a friend. We did a podcast there where we talked about all the serious stuff, AI, music, law, you know, the grown-up stuff. But the real reason I was here was to talk about an obsession we both share and how that obsession got BT to where he is today.
Thanks so much for letting us into your...
Oh, it's such a...
It is a bat cave.
It really is.
BT cave.
Yeah, it really is. It's a pleasure, man.
Now, I have to ask a question. I mean, what I really love about looking at this room is that, like, to me, it possibly tells me about your history technologically.
Yeah, I love that.
The first question I want to ask is, because I'm guilty of this, is I sold loads of stuff and I've had to kind of retrospectively go back, and I recently rebought a JP8000. So
yeah.
is this your history? Like, these are the ones that you kept, or have you kind of gone, oh, I wish I didn't get rid of that, and you've had to go back?
It's a very good question. I will say it's pretty much all stuff that has been with me along the way. Yeah. So, and I mean, every single piece of gear in here has a story. So there's a couple newer pieces. The CS80 is like, that was like, insofar as new purchases, that was like a late 90s purchase. But, you know, these are things that have been with me for a long time.
Yeah. So I think it'd be fun to just talk about what you started with, just from a kind of technical point of view, you know.
Yeah.
What was your, you know, I was chatting with Nitin Sawhney the other day, and he did that first seminal album on like a Tascam and stuff. So what did you, you know, maybe like, I don't know, what was your first synth? And
like, you want to see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So it looks a bit different now. So it's right over here. So it didn't used to be a Kiwi 106. It used to be a Juno 106.
Oh,
so
okay.
This actually has like a really lovely story. I'll turn this area on. It's got the cool like car ignition switch, as you do.
Oh, brilliant.
This actual instrument I had in a garage in Los Angeles when I lived in LA, and it was nicked.
Okay.
So they stole a bunch of gear from me, and somebody had broken into that garage. This is one of the things. And I had I literally mowed lawns to get this very instrument. I kept the serial number for it, and I found it on eBay about 15 years later. And so I bought it back. And
That's
so,
incredible.
yeah, it's a pretty cool story. And so in honor of its new life, I, you know, new face plated it. It's got wooden cheeks now and stuff. Of course, it never had that. But this was my very, very first synthesizer, was the Juno 106. And as a Kiwi 106, it's got an extra LFO. I mean, it's brilliant now. I wish I'd had it like that when I was a kid. But yeah, that's my first instrument. This is my actual first computer. This one here. It's an IBM 5150. I made most of EMA, my first album, on this actually, this actual machine. Let's see. So that's like still my little auto loads from when I was a kid.
Why did you keep this stuff?
It's really weird. Some of it just kept itself. So, you know, I had this house when I moved to Los Angeles, and I had it rented out, and I put a bunch of things in the attic because I didn't want to bring them with me. And then I'd kind of forgotten about it for a long time, you know, and I was in Los Angeles for 15 years, and I came back and went in the attic, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of boxes of old stuff in this attic, some of which I actually got rid of. There was like, you know, multiples of old samplers and things like that. But I didn't have a tremendous, you know, it's like I was using Pro Tools rigs, a couple synths. I had my one of my Jupiter 8s out there and a couple other things, but it was primarily just, you know, we're working a lot in the box, you know, when I was in Los Angeles and heavily, you know, focused on scoring things. And so it kind of kept itself.
Yeah.
You know, which is just a wild thing. But yeah, this is my very first computer. It's my first synthesizer.
And what is this running?
It's running, this is a program called Voyatra Sequencer Plus Gold.
Wow.
And I still use this to sequence on. In fact, the record I made during COVID time, Metaversal, I mean, look, you can see this is like an actual session in here. Like there's this MIDI information.
And I don't want to come across as a cynic, but why would you?
So we've been having some great conversations that people won't have been privy to at our kitchen table. Why? The why to this is all I'm thinking about is making music.
Right.
I don't have YouTube here. I don't have the internet. I leave my cell phone off. And I sit, and it really pulls me back into the space when I was a kid and there weren't those things. Mm-hmm. And I was making music, and it was such a wonderful process. And it's funny, Lacey and I were talking about it this morning. It's like, or last night actually, you know, that people have forgotten that was even like a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I grew up without a cell phone, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I wasn't checking people's Spotify numbers or like listening to, you know.
Mine is Korean street food vendors.
There you go.
Yeah. What is it? Is that mayo or sriracha?
Exactly. Just completely undistracted, you know. It's a filtration system, if you will. It just...
Something that people don't talk about is the mindset that you go into when you're making music. And often, I think the reason why time passes very quickly is because it's non-linguistic, what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something inherently with these graphic-based systems and DAWs, there's something a little bit more linguistic about them.
That's interesting.
And I used to sequence on my Kurzweil K250XP, which is just totally, it was, you know, there were some numbers in there, but it was basically a muscle thing that I was doing, and it becomes...
Dude, this for me, honestly, like, I can literally sit here. Let me see if I mean, I'm completely unprepared to do this, but let's see if I have like a MIDI channel up and I can show you what I mean. You see how slow it is inserting things? It's just total madness. Okay, and so... And then you can really easily... Please wait. The point being, like, I can write a little ostinato, write another one, you know, I can step enter things, I can play things, and I'm not thinking about anything other than I'm listening more than I'm sitting and thinking about, oh, you know, this is in, you know, D Mixolydian or something, you know, or worried about, like I said, you know, looking at X or, you know, YouTube. I'm just sat making music, and magical things happen sitting in an environment like this. I'm just undistracted.
It's interesting because I've just been writing a script about like being in the box and how, because we're all using the same stuff, there's a homogeny, because whilst it does like widen our like horizons on what we can do, there are certain things that it does better than others. So you tend to do the stuff that it does better than the stuff that's more difficult to do.
Yeah.
So I think it leads to a kind of increased homogeny, and I think that people, you know, it's difficult to understand that it's a different instrument for you, basically. It's like switching from a mandolin to a ukulele, you know, it's same principle.
Yeah.
But it's the feedback's different.
I think totally differently in an environment like this. I will just, especially with, it just puts me right back into the mindset of when I first started making electronic music. I don't know if you saw here, but there's also like a 24-track digital recorder here. So I can record all of this stuff straight to disk and then pop it on the main machine. This is its own encompassed little area. This is all my like 90s effects and, an MPC 3000. It's
Amazing.
hot rodded now, but can program drums here. I've got a turntable, even have like an oral exciter, which we used to, I can't believe we used to do that. But I've even printed things to DAT back here, and it's like, it has a vibe. There's like a sound to that.
Oh, I remember these.
Oh man, this is such a sick box. This Zoom, multi effects. This one is incredible. It's my favorite phaser ever too. The Boss SE70, and of course the quad reverb is like. And these things like they're ramming these algorithms onto the tiniest little crappy chips, bad D to A's. But it has such a it's no wonder that's like a coveted box by somebody like Aphex Twin. It's like. That's just an amazing sounding effects unit, even to this day. But what I love about it more than anything is it just makes you focus on making music. There's not something else to do here. If you're sitting here, the purpose is to make music.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It totally does, absolutely. So, and the Kiwi 3P would be the JX3P?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's a these Kiwi modifications are brilliant. So yeah, that's a Roland JX8P, and they put more stuff in it. You can do unison detune, same with the 106. That's like a kind of 90s progressive secret weapon, that A1, what is it? No, CS1X it is. They made an AS1.
So now I got rid of my Roland, but not because it was a D50. I only could afford a D5, which was terrible.
Yeah, I hated those.
Well, I think this has a few oscillators.
You're right. Yeah, I remember I had a D5 as well too. Yeah,
It's just terrible.
Yeah, this is a weirdly wonderful instrument to this day. And of course, Roland has the cloud version of it, which is great. I have that. And it is a pretty faithful recreation of it. But this was my D50. I mean, like I quite literally mowed hundreds of lawns to get this D50 as a teenager. And so like, it's just stayed with me.
I remember it just being so mind blowing.
Oh my God. I mean, it's still honestly like I could play you some of these ambient patches for this thing that are very not D50-esque and sound very modern. And they're a combination of that, what they call PCM mixed with, subtractive stuff.
I mean, just for the people who are watching who are a bit younger, there was something really revolutionary about the D50 and this PCM. I don't know if you want to briefly explain what, because it's combining sampling with
You're exactly
digital oscillation.
Yeah, and of course, you can't talk about this without talking about Eric Persing, too. So shout outs to Eric Persing.
Who went on to do Distorted Reality.
Very good, which is down there in my old CDs. I have all that stuff.
Yeah. You're one of the people who bought it.
I absolutely did.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Eric's. And also, too, in this MKS50 that we had up, the Hoover sound that's so synonymous with everything from neuro, Cohen sound and noise that don't exist without a Hoover, right? Nor does any early rave music. That's Eric Persing. I mean, he was
a preset programmer.
He was, yeah.
And then he did this amazing thing called Distorted Reality, which was just on everything.
Absolutely
everything.
Yeah.
And then came Spectrasonics, and then I think what they're so famous for these days is Omnisphere.
Yeah, which is brilliant. I heard that. I don't have the new version of Omnisphere, but I can't wait to get it. So Eric and some other programmers did just incredible patches for this. But basically, this was a truly revolutionary instrument. And here's why. So we started with things like, the analog synthesizers. You have a Matrix 12 here, or a Prophet 600, a T8 down there. That's a wonderful instrument. A Juno 60, that's a DCO instrument, a digitally stabilized oscillator. But these are analog instruments. What was really special about this is that, as you said, it incorporated sampling to an extent, we'll get into that in a second, with subtractive synthesis. And so when I say to an extent, so they call this linear algorithmic synthesis, right? And in essence, it was combining a very short attack transient sample,
which was a sample,
was a sample with something that was more subtractive, a triangle.
So when we say short, we mean like, boop.
Yes, quite literally. Now, how they kind of cheated the system is they had things like the very famous, from this style of house music, it actually drives me a bit crazy. The chiffy flute, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's this instrument. I think that's actually one of Eric's patches. But I mean, it's so famous, the patches for this. It's like everything from Father Figure by George Michael through to like, I mean, every pop song.
Soundtracks as well.
Oh, Hans. I mean, it's on everything from this time period. And but the interesting thing about this linear algorithmic synthesis was they were using very short samples for attack transients, like the thunk of a piano or the chiff of a flute or a breath, and they were throwing it into a long reverb or a delay. So you have this really beautiful kind of filtering sound over top of, you know, a subtractive waveform, and then in combination with filters. So it's funny, this is one of the first, and people will fact check me, this is not the first, but it's one of the first synths that had internal multi-effects. And so it's part of why it's combining those things, very short samples, subtractive synthesis, digital filters, but albeit really interesting sounding filters with effects that gives it such a unique character. And you can't throw a dart at a score from the late 80s or from when this came out on, you know, or, you know, pop record, electronic music, everything. It's on everything. So it's a very, very important instrument. And for people like me that love subtractive analog synthesis, it's honestly a bit of a buzzkill. Between that and like the DX7, these were these pivotal moments where there was a new sort of architecture introduced in music, but now it has this wonderful sort of feeling and nostalgic character. It's an incredible instrument to this day. It really is.
Just, I think I have an understanding of what subtractive synthesis is.
Yeah.
Is it complex waveforms that you then filter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's basically several waves. It's a square wave, right?
Yeah.
Also could be, you know, pulse width modulated, so a pulse wave or square wave, a triangle wave, a saw wave, a sine wave, and then noise, right? And then using filters, that's why they call it subtractive. You're subtracting from the sound. And so, I mean, the most, you know, famous electronic records of all time all feature subtractive synthesis, from, you know, Tangerine Dream to Kraftwerk. Dude, did you see that there's like a thing on Julian's, they're like selling a bunch of the Kraftwerk gear? I'm freaking out. I'm like, Lacey, take the internet away from me right now. Yeah. They're selling the Moog vocoder. Did you see? Yeah. I'm like, I'm in trouble. Yeah.
This is problematic.
Yeah.
So where did you move from you mowed the lawns for the D50?
I did, yeah.
And then do you recall where you moved to next, kind of from on a technological point of view?
So I do. So actually D50 was second. So this was first, that's second. Third. Second would be over there, which is the DX7.
Yeah, which is just...
Yeah.
That was...
game changing. And I'm one of the weird people that actually learned to program that instrument.
Right.
So I absolutely love FM synthesis. It broke a lot of musicians' brains.
Should we go over it?
Yeah, let's have a look at it.
I think that a lot of the underlying technology has been lost since everything's gone into the box. We just take it for granted.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
This was a point at which people were trying various different angles, you know, so you've got your PCM with the D50, and this is FM synthesis.
That's right.
Which is creating, am I right in saying, complex waveforms through modulating stuff incredibly quickly.
Absolutely, that's exactly right. So the DX7 was, this technology was invented by Chowning, John Chowning, who and the internet will be able to get all of this right. But John Chowning invented FM synthesis, and it was ultimately patented by Yamaha. And what it is it's actually very simple. It's taking two sine waves and multiplying them. So you have an operator and a modulator, and that is kind of FM synthesis in a nutshell. And when you multiply these two waveforms, sine waves, which have no harmonics, you get this beautiful complex harmonic structure.
Yeah.
And then if you envelope them, the harmonics change over time. So you could emulate things that were closer to acoustic timbres than you ever could. They have much richer spectral harmonic information. As part of what people didn't like about it at the time, because they were very sort of clinical sounding, you know,
Metallic and glassy.
very, yes, good descriptions. Yeah, like the things I think of are, you know, the FM slap bass, right?
The electric
And
piano.
the electric piano, yeah. Which now, these days, I mean, some of these are kind of just absolutely lovely timbres. But yeah, this was my second instrument. And of course, because it was my second instrument, I had to figure out, you know, what was possible with it. It's not booting up. But you know, I spent so long learning how to program it. I think something's unplugged there, but at any rate, so it has a beautiful display. But yeah, this was my second ever instrument, and it had some super naff stuff too, like a breath controller and things that are just kind of silly now.
They're remarkably heavy as well, aren't they?
Oh, they weigh a half ton. I have a really nice story about the DX7. So, hero of mine as a kid, like one of my favorite artists is Howard Jones, and he and I have become friends as adults, right? And so part of what made me fall in love with this instrument was how Howard used it on things like Dream into Action and around that time period. It's brilliant music. And so when we were in Los Angeles, we were visiting his best friend. Him and Jan, his wife's best friend, are the Clear Mountains. And so we were at the Clear Mountains place, and it was so cool, and getting to see Bob's whole studio and everything. We had a really nice hangout, and I asked Howard, I said, "So where's your DX7?" And he said, "I don't have it anymore." And so while we were there in the studio, I found one on Craigslist and got the guy to bring it to us. And so Howard now has a DX. It's like the universe was just a degree off kilter. Howard not having a DX7. And so I found one in good shape too for like $300. Just bought it.
I mean, they shifted units of these. I think probably one of the biggest selling...
Biggest of all time. Yeah, it's one of the biggest selling synthesizers of all time.
I know, I have a friend who is in the Nine Inch Nails, and they basically used DX7s as their MIDI controllers on stage because they used a lot of kind of liquid, and they'd blow things up and kick things over.
Yeah.
They knew every town and city they went into. They'd be able to go to a pawn shop and get a bunch of DX7s.
That's smart. That's really smart. And they're pretty much indestructible too. They weigh like a half ton. There's a bigger version of this called the DX5, which is up there, which is two DX7s. But a bit of a fancier, more complex way of interacting with it. But why people hated this is because it was so difficult to program. The envelopes are not a normal attack, decay, sustain, release like we're used to. They're kind of inverted, without going into a long kind of diatribe about that. They're really difficult to program, and it's all menu diving and looking at a very little screen. Now, of course, we have instruments like this on the computer, but my God, to this day, I mean, FM synthesis is more popular than it's ever been. I mean, again, an artist like Skrillex, or, you know, I mentioned Noisia before, these kind of, you know, complex bass music artists, they don't exist without FM synthesis, quite literally. I mean, all these beautiful kind of like harmonic, rich, distorted formant growl sounds are, some of them are wavetable synthesis, but some of the coolest ones are FM synthesis. So this continues to have life today in the computer as a very modern sounding technology. It's still an important type of synthesis.
Wow.
Yeah.
So DX7, D50.
Yeah, and then who's next?
I'm testing you.
Oh man. Okay, well, I don't know who's next after that, but I can tell you, like, in some semblance of order, I would say probably also too, I should say this, there's a lot of things not in this room.
Okay.
Yeah. So, a lot.
Yeah.
Christian.
It's all right.
There's a lot. So, I've been doing this for a hot minute. So there's some things that aren't here. But the next in this room is probably the JX8P.
Okay.
This is maybe the K3, but probably the JX8P. This is an instrument that I've spent a lot of time with. And it is of the era of subtractive synthesis, but they're DCOs, which is you know, a digitally stabilized oscillator, And so this is one of these funny instruments where people think like, that was kind of like a meh,
Yeah.
80s instrument. This is one of Trevor Horn's favorite synthesizers of all time. So, and there's no, in my mind, there's no wondering why. I mean, it's capable of such warm, rich pads, great poly sound, some good bass stuff. It's a bit noisy, but it stacks well. I use this a lot in a stack. Like I'll stack the JX8P, maybe the Matrix 12, and the Prophet 5, which I can't believe, we'll get to it, but I pulled my Prophet 5 out. I have like a vintage Prophet 5. I replaced it with a Prophet 10. This is my favorite new instrument of like in 20 years.
Really?
Honest to God, that is the best sounding analog synthesizer. I have nothing to do with sequential circuits other than I loved Dave Smith. He's a wonderful human. That is the best sounding, in my mind, modern analog synthesizer ever. I mean, I can't even believe that instrument. I pulled my vintage Prophet 5 out and put the 10 in there, the new one. So, and I have a Rev 1 as well too. Like it's like one of the coveted ones.
Yeah.
But at any rate, this synth stacks so beautifully. And then, I mean, just kind of looking around, going through some other stuff. It's a wavetable instrument, but with analog filters. Very interesting sounding instrument. This is a true subtractive instrument, a bit of a rare one, although not crazy rare. There's definitely some rarer things in the room, but this is a really bitey, gnarly sounding instrument, the Chroma Polaris, and they made some other really great stuff as well. This is like a heavily hot rodded. It has what's called a teensy modification in it. Prophet 600. This is an awesome instrument. I have to say the Behringer clone of this, they use the teensy mod, and it's actually brilliant.
Okay. You said the B word.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. No, I like those guys. I really do. And I think that it's funny because people have really mixed feelings about Behringer, and I understand that. But what I love the most about Behringer is that they're introducing synthesis to a whole generation of people that can't go out and, I bought something like this for $500, and now it's worth thousands of dollars. It's like not everybody can go get one, but you can go get a Behringer desktop instrument. Really I love that for students, people that want to learn about analog synthesis. I think it's brilliant for that. So at any rate, this is a great sounding instrument.
Now, what's really interesting, and it's not why we buy these things, but I've got a smaller but similar collection, and I was very surprised to discover that one of the most valuable synths in my collection. It's because they didn't make many.
Yeah, and I have to say too, sound-wise, this thing is unfreaking believable. Right. This is one of my honestly, this is one of my favorite instruments in the room. Okay. It's really rare to find one with an intact joystick as well too. Yeah. Have you got the like Syntar? Forget about it. The guy's like, you write him an email like, do you have any joysticks? Like, kill me. Like
it came without the joystick, but we shook it and realized it was inside.
Oh wow, that you lucked out, man. Yeah. So I mean, because you have one. This is such a stereo, wide sounding instrument, and it's Dave Smith, of course, right? Rest in peace. What an incredible human being he was. Yeah, I mean, MIDI, the Prophet 5, like, his contribution to music it's unspeakable, actually. And he was just such a lovely man, too. He was a tremendous guy. The neat thing about Dave and the whole original bunch of engineers, they signed a lot of these instruments inside. And so this one has Dave's signature in it. And they just were making these in their garage, Wow. And it's just really neat. They wrote their names on the inside of them. But this is Dave's foray to right before he lost the sequential name and went and worked with Korg making the Wave Station. So this is like his first foray into that idea. Of course, the Wave Station doesn't have analog filters. That really affects the character of this instrument. So you have this very bright, kind of like PPG-esque, right? Like a wave, right? The original waves, like a Wave 2, Wave 2.3. It has this very bitey wavetable sound, but then with analog filters to kind of round it out. And man, for bass, for plucks for pads. It's that thing is like, and I got this cool stereo ping program. I actually built this. It's like a, you know,
Kit.
breadboard kit and solder it together, but it's brilliant because then you have access to the filters and different stuff without menu dive. You should get one of these if you have this. It's brilliant. I think you can build, I mean, it took me an afternoon to build it. It's a bit of a pain to solder, but you know, I think you could get them pre-built, a couple $100. So yeah, this is an amazing instrument. Jupiter 6, you were gonna ask something.
Yeah, I have one, and it's the one thing that I'm thinking of possibly finding a good home for, because I just don't like it.
I'm gonna change your mind.
Okay.
I'm going to change your mind. So if you patch its input, I'm gonna watch your face while I tell you this.
Right.
If you patch its input into the pedal input, it completely changes the character of this instrument. It goes from like kind of plasticky, sort of middle of the range. You want it to be a Jupiter 8, it's not.
No.
Maybe we could do a Jupiter 4, it's not.
No.
To this powerhouse, screaming, angry synthesizer.
I don't. Yeah, because you've nailed it. Because Jupiter 4 is one of my favorites.
One of the greatest of all time. Human League, yeah.
I've never been able to afford a Jupiter 8.
Yeah.
Says just having bought a CS8. So I kind of skipped.
We're going to need to talk about this because honestly, that's my favorite instrument of all time.
Okay.
We have to find an on-ramp to a Jupiter 8 for you.
Okay.
It's a life-changing instrument. It's my desert island. If I only had...
That's next to you.
Yeah, if I only had one instrument, it would be that.
So for me, it always sonically felt like it fell down the cracks.
Yeah, it did. It did. Plug its output into the pedal input.
I don't understand.
Try it. You're gonna freak out. The guys from the Crystal Method told me this ages ago, and apparently this was a trick. I feel like from the Chemical Brothers. I can't remember where this comes from. This thing sounds so violently angry in a good way if you plug one of its outputs into the pedal input.
Yeah. And is that like an expression pedal input?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And then you just...
I'm going to get an email from you and you're going to be like, I'm keeping my Jupiter 6. Yeah.
Okay.
It's managed. And there's a great modification for this that makes the envelopes not click and makes it so the filter doesn't kill the sound. You know, like with the, it's kind of like the JP8000, like the filter dramatically affects the amplitude. Mm-hmm. There's a mod for, and I've had both these mods done to this. So you don't get those stupid clicky envelopes. Yeah. And also too, the filter range doesn't affect the amplitude. And then suddenly you're in like a whole different thing.
I've had mine serviced 3 times. Okay. And every time it's come back and they go, no, that's what it's meant to sound like.
Let me talk to your tech.
Okay.
I'm serious. You need these 2 mods and you need to plug its... And if you do that and you don't like it, call me and maybe I need another Jupiter 6. Okay.
You get a Jupiter 12.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they're great instruments. Down here too, there's some cool stuff. There's a Juno 60 down here. This is all kitted out as well too.
And how do you feel about mods? I mean, I guess these things, you're buying these things not as investment vehicles, which I know a lot of people are now buying them as.
Yeah.
So these are tools that you need to use. So you mod them, you don't feel that that's...
Yeah. Well, I mean, with modifications, like I'm not going to do some like circuit bent thing to the face plates of them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, for example, this Jupiter 8, honestly, it's a lot more valuable instrument having those modifications done. It just sounds so much better now. Yeah. And so... yeah, that's not kind of like to the book, but honestly, I see them with the modifications going for more money. So, you know, I won't do, like, there's a, you know, an LED bender on it. I kept the original bender. I like how that looks, you know, if that was ever going to be, which it won't be, but if it was ever going to be sold, you can make it back to stock. This is a really interesting instrument down here. This is by Korg, and it's a 4-op FM synthesizer. What's interesting about it is it has unison, and the unison locks the phase of everything. So you can make these huge freaking bass sounds in this. It's a bit of a sleeper, and it's got a really great bucket brigade delay and chorus in it. It's also too, Korg made the 707, the one with the bubbly M1 bubbles on it. And it's apparently the same instrument, which I didn't realize, but this is such a sick sounding instrument. This is a legend. This is a Prophet T8.
Wow.
And the first synth, again, a Dave Smith sort of special, is the first synthesizer to have aftertouch. And my God, I mean, playing this, you know, it's basically like two Prophet 600s with a bit more. And then feel the keyboard like this. Incredible is on too. Incredible weighted keyboard. But it has aftertouch, not polyphonic aftertouch, but it has aftertouch, and it's the first analog synthesizer to have that in it. So
Interesting.
yeah, Dave's such a legend. What else have we got here? So we got some modern stuff over here. We can go up here. This is one of my favorite modern digital instruments. Interestingly, it has analog filters on it. This is a Waldorf Quantum. I made some of the factory patches for this instrument, and like there's not a lot of new instruments that really grab me, and this one has just such a remarkable character. The granular engine in it is particularly wonderful, and I think it's probably the only synthesizer I have that has granular synthesis in it. This is the very angry Russian Polvox. Probably the angriest sounding synthesizer in the entire room. The keys, if you look at them wrong, will fly off. Okay. You know, it's literally like made, I mean, like in Soviet era Russia. So it's just the plastic is melting by looking at it. But man, what a cool sounding instrument. These kind of pair well together. So I put the Pro One here. This is actually one of my earlier synths. So this come to think of it, came after the DX7, and the D50 is the Pro One. I learned how to program drums on this. It was the first synth that I learned how to make kick drums and snare drums and hi-hats and stuff on. Sampled this thing so much, and still use it constantly to this day. So great sounding instrument.
And then there's a little thing.
Yeah. Yes, there is. So yeah,
having just bought one, you know, it's for me, it's like a totally bucket list kind of achievement. What makes these things special? I think what's interesting is I really kind of did some research on MIDI, and it's very interesting to see the very limited number of MIDI commands there are. Two of them are polyphonic aftertouch, which didn't kind of catch on.
Yeah,
it's catching on again.
Yeah, it's true with the the Rolly Seaboard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But what makes these things so desirable, so special?
So interesting. So this instrument, obviously, I can't even look at this instrument without mentioning Vangelis, who is the master of this instrument, right?
Blade Runner, Chariots of Fire.
Of course. I mean, irrefutably, 1492. His scores with this instrument are so melt your brain, mind eviscerating. To this day, I can't even, I mean, like, the Blade Runner score is what made me want to make electronic music, full stop. I rode my little bike to the movie theater. I watched Blade Runner, the matinee show, and I stayed in the theater and I watched it until they closed the theater. It's a true story. And I was like, whatever's going on there, I want to do that kind of thing. So I wanted one of these for many years. It's interesting, we were talking about the DX7 and the D50. When the DX7 and the D50 came around, people were quite literally throwing instruments like Prophet 5, Jupiter 8, CS80. They were throwing them in the trash.
Yeah.
I remember our local music store, Washington Music Center, Chuck Levin's it's called. There was a day where they threw in boxes 4 Prophet 5s into the trash. Yeah, in boxes.
Well, this is the days when Hans was buying those
the Roland,
Roland literally by pound.
Yeah, exactly. You're totally right. No one wanted them because everyone wanted a DX7 and a D50. So this is when I got this instrument. Is when nobody wanted one. I probably paid $1,500 for this. Yeah, maybe $1,200. I'm serious too. And, you know, it was in immaculate condition. It did not have MIDI. So I had MIDI installed in it about 10 years ago, which is a very, very serious undertaking.
I bet.
And you can destroy the instrument. And then if you wreck it, there's no chance of getting it back. So I had some techs in Texas, did the installation. We actually physically drove it there and physically drove it back. But what makes this so special, I think, is it's a real performer's instrument. I mean, another very famous user of this was used a lot by Quincy Jones. It was used by the Dewey Brothers pretty famously, Michael Jackson, Paul McCartney famously used this instrument, but none of those scream the sound of the CS80 to me. It's Vangelis is like kind of, it's an audience of one, honestly. What's so special about the way that he used this instrument has to do with this section and this, and a bit of this too. So this section here, okay, which is all of your modulation. So you've got tremolo and chorus here. And very famously, he was using pedals to turn these things on and off and swelling and changing the speed of them. This area makes this swirling, just beautiful ensemble, almost liquid sounds. And this is the very famous ribbon slider that now has appeared years later on other great instruments like the Rolly Seaboard and the Hartman Continuum. Some other things have ribbon sliders. And what's so cool about it is you can hold a chord but have one note that it sticks to and just move that note. So you can have root motion, but it's just incredible to watch.
And also it's long.
It's very long, yeah.
Yeah, so it gives you
you might not be able to see that.
An accuracy.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is just and this instrument pairs with this right here. Like these two are kind of peanut butter and chocolate.
I was going to talk to you about this because I've been really listening to the Blade Runner scores a lot, and it's like, this is about digital reverbs.
You must have this. I will play you this. Yeah. These two things together are, you can't.
No.
You're done for like a week. You will just sit there with these two. And the trick with this too is you turn the high reverberation up to infinity. So there's different bands of reverberation, right? Yeah. Highs all the way up. Mids very long, like quite literally like 16 seconds, and then the lows gently under that. And it's so wild. You look at it on a spectrogram and it's like only up to 12K. Like our modern reverbs are all the way up to the top. This thing is the most liquid, alive sounding reverb I have ever heard in my life. And these two things together they're a profound combination. Like it can't be overstated.
Should we go around and have
let's have a look. I mean, this is a gnarly sounding instrument. Okay, so you get a feel of this sort of sound we've got there. This is that reverb. And by the way, we can like A/B this against the plugins. You will not believe the difference.
Really?
You won't believe it. So here's it with this reverb. So that's a short. Now watch. And just because we can. Okay, so we still got a short. Here you go. Crank this. Crank that. And then a bit of this. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Are you fucking serious right now? So yeah, I mean, it's like this is like the greatest reverb ever made.
But also, we have to contextualize what happened with these things, because that length, unless you went into a cathedral, it wasn't available.
No, completely.
You could have echo.
What a good point. Yeah, it's such a good point. So this really was a technical achievement at the time. It's also too the main box for it is down here, and it's like it's sort of like a mainframe computer. So it holds it'd take me a minute to take the faceplate off it, but it holds cards sort of like this, like the Fairlight. This is very similar to what it looks like inside the Fairlight with these multiple cards. So it's such a complex instrument, that Lexicon 224. but I mean, you can hear what it sounds like. It's like you compare it to, God bless their cotton socks, as you guys say, right? Like the UAD ones, or like there's a bunch of them. They're good. They're not this. It's just there's something. I mean, where UAD really shines is with things like, 1176s, LA2As. I mean, they're one for one sounding clones. For some reason, you cannot get the life kind of sound of this. It's just this expansive, vast, living thing. It has so much character, I can't even believe it. It's my favorite reverb ever made.
I reckon in there is so many hacks to just get the thing working.
You're probably right.
There's so many, like,
You're
okay, let's
probably
forget
right.
about that little line of code or whatever,
Yeah, absolutely. This one here as well too. This is worth a mention. This is the Lexicon 200. This is very similar in character, but slightly different. This is a huge, beautiful sounding reverb as well too. But there's something about these Lexicon reverb, this Clark Technic one down there as well too, is just an incredible sounding reverb that you just can't get in a plugin. There's something about these reverbs that they have a character and this kind of a vibe to them that, and again, you can see it on a spectrogram. It's just not like, just kind of speculation. The character of them is visible, if even by being so band delimited, it's like just stops at around 11, 12 kilohertz.
But also it's that's your one.
Yeah. They sound really different. Yeah.
So we come to, you're basically, I'm getting a sense that these are the closest to you.
They are, yes, yeah.
Because
that's there for a reason.
Yeah.
This is designed like this for a reason, and it is a kind of order of operations, like the things that I use all the time.
Yeah.
So this I kind of can't ignore. This is like my, trio of power. These are my three favorite subtractive instruments. And interestingly, I mentioned it when we were over there. Here I had a Prophet 5, a vintage Prophet 5, a Rev 1, which is an unbelievable instrument. Don't get me wrong. And I will set that up in another setup. So we went to France in spring. I was working on my next artist album, my 16th album, if you can believe that. Yeah, it's crazy. And we took a bunch of stuff. This is one of the things that I brought. I was so blown away with this instrument. I literally can't even possibly articulate how blown away I was by this instrument. It sounds like a flawlessly calibrated vintage Prophet 5, but you can kind of dial in the character of different eras of it, because version 1 and 2 are pretty much the same, and they use SEM filters, and version 3 uses a different sort of filter. They have very different characters, and this perfectly can switch between these types of filter topographies, but it sounds so bright and modern if you want it to, and you can make it sound warm and vintage if you want it to as well. So I swapped out my Prophet 5 for this.
That's a big moment.
It really was. Yeah, like Lacey saw me walking in the house carrying a Prophet 5. She's like, "What? Like, is the world ending?" Yeah, exactly. So, so love this. The Jupiter 8 is my favorite analog polysynth of all time. Over the years, I've bought a couple of these when I've seen them for really cheap. This particular one, I probably paid $700 for. And I sent this one. This one's been to England. So this one went to England. You can't really see it, but the factory, the factory paint on a Jupiter 8 is kind of a matte, let's call it like a taupe sort of gray, right? The color. So this faceplate was destroyed on this one. That's part of why it was so cheap. This is when they were starting actually to go up in price, but the guts of it were great. The faceplate was completely destroyed and the end caps were destroyed. So I got it, and there's a guy in England. He refaceplates vintage instruments and he paints them. And so I was like, because it's not gonna be the original faceplate, I'm just gonna go like Batman matte black. So this
I was
is
gonna
like,
say, when it came around, it's like,
but you can see we've done the original colors of everything. It's just we made it matte black. And then new anodized aluminum end caps on it. And it's just this thing is like any sound you want to make, from like poly sounds, pads, plucks, bass, arpeggios, obviously, like think Duran Duran. I mean, it's like every sound I want to make with a synthesizer, I can make with this, honestly. And, you know, there's things that are specialized slightly better, like, you know, pads, maybe you could say like the Matrix 12. It's like, you know, so wide and round sounding, and the panned out oscillators and stuff. But this thing, stacking two of them, you know, I love to stack it in stereo. Just print 2 copies of it, stack it in stereo, you time correct them, and they're like, I mean, it's just my favorite instrument of all time. So, and then here, this is actually a new Model D. Right. So this is one of the newer ones. So obviously didn't buy that vintage, but behind you, I have one of these chop shop ones when they used to destroy mini Moogs. So that's an actual vintage one. And interestingly, these have very different characters. So yeah, but both very useful. That's a bit punchier, I would say. Really plosive attack transient on it, whereas this one is that kind of like wide, think like gap band, funk, you know, sort of Moog bass sound. Both just incredible. So yeah, I mean, these 3 instruments are always on. I use these all the time. Some other interesting stuff down here too. There's a compressor for the guitar amp. Back there, there's an AC30. So if I'm recording live guitars, and then there's this mini dock, which is like so vintage looking, it hurts. And that's sending clock, this is an unusual number of pulses per quarter note. I think it's 12, if I remember right. The Jupiter 8, so I'm converting, you know, MIDI clock to this PPQ clock that this thing can receive. These didn't have MIDI. They had something called DCB. One of my Jupiter 8s has MIDI, but this one doesn't. It has a DCB, which is this weird big fat cable to get notes to it.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to end on the comments that I know are going to come up under this video, which is, you could just get all of this stuff in the box now. Why do you still have it? You know?
Yeah, I mean, so I would lovingly push back on that. So, I mean, as somebody that loves music software and make music software, you know, and I know the strengths of instruments and effects in the box. There's remarkable things happening in the computer now. I can effectively make music I love sitting with a laptop, you know, sitting out in the yard. It goes back to what we were talking about over there. First of all, there's a character to these instruments that commands you do certain things with them. So there's a sort of will to them, honestly, saying it in a very kind of hippy-dippy way, that they impose on you in a good way. Like, these instruments want to be played in certain ways, whereas I think of things in the box as very agnostic. It's like I'm imposing my will on it. But these things, there's this sort of symbiotic feedback loop that happens with them, where you start with a bit of an idea, but then the instrument guides you slightly differently. And just being able to move knobs and sliders really quickly, even the envelopes, for example, suddenly your part changes ever so slightly, and that completely changes the character and the direction of the piece of music that you're working on. I love that. I love the process of that. It's like such a human process. And in a day and age where people are typing a sentence and getting a piece of music, I love the idea of being very volitional and devoted to a craft I've devoted my whole life to, which is making music. So I love being in a room filled with things, all of which have memories. I've worked internally in every single one of these, you know, recapped them, installed MIDI in many of them. And they have a story and they have a character, and all of that's captured in my music. And so that's kind of the why.
Just what a brilliant romantic way of ending an amazing tour. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, Christian.
Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you so much, man.
So much, man.
Yeah,
amazing.
Absolutely.
That was great.
If there's one common thread that links everyone I meet when making videos like these, is It's not about how valuable or rare something is on eBay. It's about how something makes you feel, the feedback it gives you, and the way it makes you play, the way it influences the decisions you make. Music is about the things, the place, and the people that you make it with. Your journey through yesterday forms the DNA of the music you make today. Having just a few reminders of that journey and ways you can draw directly on that chromosomal development seems for many to be a way of staying in touch with who you are, where you've come from, and where music has and will take you. Do you need all this stuff? No. But when it's stuff that's part of your own story, it should be nurtured and not forgotten, because who you are and where you came from, embracing that and being honest to that, well, it's everything. So next time you're planning to put a bit of kit on eBay or Reverb or Craigslist, think to yourself, was it important to you, your journey? And think to yourself, will it maybe be important to you in the future, if nothing else, to tell your story?